This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so now you gotta watch what you say. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. Today is, we're going to try to do the budget today. At the very least, I want to make it a workshop, even if we don't wrap it up, but hopefully maybe we will wrap this up. It doesn't look that complicated. We're going to have to change some numbers, but we'll get to that. I do want to knock a couple other quick things off right away. For starters, I just had a question from the gentleman over there about the fact that our lift stations need work, and they're asking what we think about widening the concrete on the side where the cement sidewalk is, which means it'll become part of the sidewalk. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Now, on the other side where the running path is away from the lift stations, it's not an issue. So occasionally, and I don't think it'd be very often, you might have a truck on the sidewalk. And that's, I think, the issue you probably want to ask us our opinion. So if you want to stand up and talk to us about it.
People working at the lake right now are parking there.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's obvious, yeah.
Kenny Hall, utility manager, Gateway
What's that?
CDD.
Just a budget item?
No, it's not.
No.
Okay.
What we basically
I'm
wanted,
sorry, I didn't get your name.
Kenny Hall, I'm the Gateway CDD utility manager. Basically what we wanted to let you all know is that your lift stations, all 4 plus the one in the villages of Stoneybrook are all due. They've hit their 15-year mark. None of them are falling apart and going are in any dire straits, but as a matter of good maintenance, at 15 years, you want to go in there and reline them. They're going to need new liners. It's a sewage lift station with hydrogen sulfide. What we do is we take all the ductile iron, the original ductile iron, the base elbows that are sitting at the bottom that the pumps are sitting on, everything will be taken out. We'll put in new HDPE, which is impervious to sewer. We'll reline them, all the valving, all the check valves, everything basically you're getting a brand new lift station.
So essentially, and this will be coming out of the 400 budget, I believe?
301.
301? Okay, so that's not our expense, 004 or HOA, but the question they're asking us is they want to put concrete pads in front of these lift stations for future service to do this work, obviously, I guess.
Yes.
And I don't have a problem with it personally. I think the issue comes down to, as he had mentioned to me, the concrete's going to extend across the sidewalks that exist right now.
Yes.
So, and occasionally there might be a truck during service times being parked on the sidewalk.
How much in either direction would it go, the widening of the
The
sidewalk?
length of the fencing.
Just the length of the
The
fence?
length of the fencing is where we would like to.
And it'd be built
extend it.
strong enough to withhold some of that when they pump it. I don't know, maybe, I haven't seen a truck there, but the last time they really pumped it out, they really tore up that whole thing there. That's what I'd be concerned
I
about.
would think they would make that
Yeah.
concrete to
Yes,
meet the
that's-
requirements.
Yeah, and that was it's one of the driving factors. It's from the hurricane. And y'all remember if you were here during the hurricane and that storm, when everything flooded out, we have to put our equipment to run your lift stations out in the road, where it's in everybody's way. You create bottlenecks. It just is a nightmare for everybody all the way around. Those driveways should have been built when they built those stations. They should have put those in there. As you can see on station 11 and station 12, we put the driveways there. We want to move up to 13 and 14 and put them there too. But they should have been there when the stations were built.
And you're not planning on extending like number 11. Those are okay.
Yeah, no, this
good
is
as it's
just
gonna
on the
get.
side where the
Yeah.
sidewalk is.
Now you'll do the curving too, not the curving down.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you look at the other two that have already
Just like
are
the other
existing, we'll just mimic
Okay.
that.
The
just like
only
that.
other concern I have is I know when you extended the one on the pathway side, there was a problem with irrigation. It
Yes.
did make a bit of a mess, and it got down a little bit who's going to pay for it, and we kind of said, no, come on.
And that'll come out, that'll be on us. Yeah. Anything
So there
like that.
always is that potential. but
Right.
I'm sure you'll call the 800 before you dig or something.
Sure.
Does anybody have any comment? I don't really think we need to approve this, but I'd like to just get it on the record. Does anybody object to them doing this?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
It'll get us out of everybody's way, which is rude. And that's
Are they actually building a pad or is it just a drive?
You got some.
I'm here. I've been here.
Okay.
Are they actually building a drive or is it just a pad? Because don't they already have a space right now?
No, we do not. On station 13 and 14, the last two stations on Pebble Brook Boulevard, there's sidewalk with grass in front of the fence and then a little strip that runs along the road in between the sidewalk and the fence. We'll take all that out and put one continuous
Yeah,
slab.
it seems to
Well,
me.
we have 3 lift stations, correct?
Four.
5 actually, but one's in the village of Stoneybrook.
Okay, so we have 2 parking spots on the first 2. So the last one between Pebblestone and Greenstone, that's the one you're talking about, correct?
That one and the one that's on the corner of Jewelstone. and
Oh,
Pebble.
Joe Stone, that's right. Okay, I forgot about that one. Thank you.
They're problematic because they have sidewalks running through them.
And in the past, they would normally park on a sidewalk or pull up and occasionally out in the street. But now they'll be off the street and not a nuisance. The only issue is, while they're servicing, certainly while they're working on it, there will be somebody on those sidewalks, but it is what it is. It has to be done.
And we'll have to provide a bypass around so that
Yeah,
they'll have
absolutely.
a safe bypass around that area while it's under construction.
Well,
You know, a lot of communities that I see have like fenced in areas with greenery around it. Is there any way, how much easement do we have on the west side of that lift station towards the house?
the concrete side. I'm not sure I understand what you're asking, JT.
So a lot of the communities I go into, they have lift stations, they have big equipment that are necessary that to have in those communities. And a lot of them actually have fences with shrubberies. I'd like to have something that's maybe hidden, so it's just not big old piece of cement right on our sidewalk while people can drive past and take a look. Is there any way around it to make it look more appeal?
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to resolve that right now.
Shrubbery in the street.
Yeah, yeah.
There's ponds, there's ponds
Yeah,
behind both of them.
Yeah, it's something to talk about, but I think the key thing is we're trying to just rush this through rather than kick the can down the road. Just let them get this project planned and started and go do it. And if nobody objects, and I would say,
I don't have any objection. I think it's a great idea because normally if you're up and down Pebble Brook a lot, you see one truck there most of the time and it's out, the one out on the roadway. And that's just, I just don't care for that at all. But with doing some maintenance stuff, it's going to be different, but still normally 90% of the time it's going to be one truck and it's going to be off the road and it doesn't create any hazard. So I think it's a good idea.
I think it's an improvement. I think it's something we can do. So we support you. Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. And fencing is any issue with fencing? We're going to get brand new fencing. We're just going to mimic the 2 that we have at the other end.
Okay.
Big,
What you converted with the black and the new inserts, I think works good. That's fine.
and say, we're going to be in your way. Depending on which way the board wants to go, we'd like to do them all at one time if possible, one after the other. That might not be possible. So we might have to do it over a 2-year period, 2 1 year, 2 next year, what have you. But just be aware, we'll make everybody as.
Okay, I just want to state for the record that this is a committee, but not really a board. And although we have a president and another board member, secretary here, they'll certainly take it back to their board and let them, and I don't think there'll be any issues on this.
We're going to be in everybody's way. We're going to we're going to annoy everybody for about 2 weeks.
Oh, that's not bad.
Once it's done.
That was my next question. How long is it going to be?
About 2 weeks.
And that's all.
Depending now, if the board, if our board elects to, and we do all of them at one time, it would be about 3 weeks. If we have
Okay.
to segment it, we're going to break it apart. So. just
Sounds
wanna-
good. Go
okay.
for it.
Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
All right, so that was a quickie I wanted to get out of the way. There's another one here. We've had a lot of requests for doing, let me find the sheet here, community maintenance. That's the company we've been using
About
for.
reading the minutes.
Oh, I'm
That's the
sorry.
agenda.
You're right. Let's call to order. I'll do we got everybody's in attendance right now. JT is calling in, so we have all 7 committee members here. And the minutes, any discussions on the minutes? I know there were some comments made to me about things being left out at the end in the comments by committee members.
Well, on the page 2, it says Mr. Machoka commented on the electrical boxes at the lakes and the cost is Stoneybrook and Gateway. That's the GSEDD's cost of those, right?
The electrical boxes belong to us. We are, I guess, whatever the agreement that Lennar made with Gateway way back when was to supply electricity, the boxes, not pay for the electricity, but to supply the boxes to tap into and with meters. And then the bills were supposed to be theirs. This is something I brought up last month,
I know.
that these electric bills should have been paid by Gateway over all these years. We're going to address that, and hopefully Chad has contacted FPL. I know I gave him the information and he said he would.
Yep, you got all the copies.
Okay, so we have to, not us here, but the HOA, because these are HOA bills. This does not come to the 004. This is HOA money being spent on electricity for the lakes that should not have happened. Now, the replacement of those electrical boxes is being done by Gateway. They have said they're going to do it. I heard an estimate. Don't hold me to it. It was a loose estimate of between $16,000 and $18,000 to do that, to replace those boxes. I think one is already in good shape, and I think 6 needed to be replaced. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so whatever, I guess they're $3,000 a piece with labor, installation, and new boxes. And then that money, they're going to pick that up, even though they're technically our boxes. And the money that's owed to us for paying for the electricity over the years should exceed that. That's yet to be determined, and that's up to the HOA board to get a hold of FPL on those 7 meters and determine how much money over those years was paid by Stoneybrook. And I hope he contacted Castle to tell them to stop paying, that we should not be paying those, okay? Have I answered your question?
Yeah, I misread it. I thought it belonged to the GSTD.
Well, it is,
But it
there are
isn't.
boxes, but it's going to, we're not laying out any money at this time. Anybody else have a question about that? Okay, so there were, I won't get into, does anybody have anything they want to change in the minutes? Let's go there.
That was my only thing.
All right,
I'll second it.
all right, who made the motion? Warren made the motion to approve the minutes. JT seconded it. All in favor?
Hi.
Unanimous?
Aye.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
When Georgia types these minutes up and sends them out to everybody and people make their comments and she makes changes and, so these are pretty much set to go when we're here.
Mhm.
Now, how can we do that and our board, Stoneybrook board can't do that? As Chris said at the last meeting, that they couldn't change them. They could only change them at the board meeting.
Change what?
The
They
minutes.
can't change our minutes.
No.
The board can't change our minutes.
No, you misunderstand.
Yeah,
I'm talking about Stoneybrook board and Stoneybrook board meeting minutes. Chris said at the meeting the other night, because someone said, we need to see a draft of the minute, might have been Angela. We need to see a draft of the minutes so we can comment on them and get them corrected before you get to the board meeting. And Chris made the comment that we can't change them until we get to the board meeting.
that was HOA board
At
meeting.
the HOA board meeting. And I didn't want to bring it up at the time, but I mean, I think our rules are more stringent than Stoneybrook rules as far as sunshine laws and legalities. And I don't know why you can't send
I'm
out
not-
draft copies and get comments and change.
I've never
We
heard that.
can't change it. And the way we've been doing it lately is we reply and make suggestions. And I believe Georgia is supposed to go back, and you can probably correct me, Brian, if I'm wrong, and re-listen to the tape to see if, because sometimes maybe she gets the wrong person making a copy. She doesn't get the
Actually,
name right.
Sonia Raleigh does it
Oh,
with
Sonia
Info
does.
Mark.
And she doesn't know the people. I try to say the names of who's speaking or making the motion or whatever, but sometimes maybe that
But
gets
the point
missed.
is, the meetings, the draft minutes are changed before we get to our committee meeting. And I don't know why our board meeting in Stoneybrook can't do that.
All right, well, that's not a Stoneybrook issue to discuss.
It isn't, but I wanted to make the point. Chris.
Okay, point made. As far as this goes, I don't think we're breaking any rules, making you suggestion to go back and check something that was said, are we?
Basically, what's said is what Marilyn typed out.
Okay.
I don't do any of the typing out.
I got you.
So once she sends it back to me, Angela is reviewing it to see if there was anything missed.
And that's a new process, new procedure that we're just
Just
doing.
last month.
Yeah,
Yes.
since last month. So that's going to be a learning process also. But yeah, and I know in the past, sometimes you would send me an editable copy that I could make a suggestion, because otherwise it's hard to make a suggestion on something. And I would send it back to you and try to identify what I changed.
And if you'd like my opinion, I would like to go back to the way that we did before, because I'm responsible for everything everyone says, and I have to go back and actually have to listen to it numerous times to make sure I didn't miss something. The way we had it before, that the drafts were sent to each and every one of us to review, I thought, and check it and send it back.
Well, how about, well, see, here's the limitation. We technically are not supposed to communicate with each other than in this room. Because I could have suggested, well, how about we'll review and then make a comment to you, but that's not legit. But we could look at and make comments to you individually, and I don't know a workaround for that.
So it's basically what was said at the meeting is what Marilyn's capturing.
Okay.
So any
Right.
other comments that you feel should be in there should not.
Well,
be in there.
sometimes that's part of the problem of no one being in the room, because sometimes someone talks over somebody else and it's not heard in the tape. And it legitimately was said, but wasn't heard by her when she's listening to the tape.
And the
And
last
that's a bit of a
minutes,
problem.
the last minutes, it just seemed like the very end, there was a lot of little details, because when each committee member has an opportunity to talk, those specific topics were brought up, which really need to be considered for future agendas, or we're going to be speaking the next month. So I had to go back and put those back in. So I don't know if they became more limited on information, and I just felt that there was really some important information that was not even there.
Yeah, so she's summarizing.
Yeah, well,
It's not a verbatim.
essentially minutes are summaries, and they were probably getting too wordy there and a little bit too much detail. And they were, I mean, I think one was 7 or 8 pages long, and that's not what the minutes are supposed to be. But it is important that the issues get in there. And I think that's what you need to be looking at. If there's some issue, you can mention it to Georgia that that one, there should have some comment on that issue should have been in there. It was brought up. I don't know what else to tell you.
So
Any suggestions on that?
I don't.
Okay.
each board member cannot review those drafts individually.
Right, correct.
Oh, we can't
Not before, no.
Oh, okay. So that's a good
Sometime
point. So that answers your question to some extent.
Okay, it does.
Oh, because we've been doing that for a long time.
Right.
That's why we were trying to figure out what the change was.
Yeah,
And I thought it's
okay.
because the minutes were too long, or, you know.
Yeah, and I thought as long as you weren't communicating with each other and communicating with the office, that was okay also.
Yeah, I
No,
did
she
too.
didn't want that. I mean, that's basically how we do the board meetings too. It's just, actually no one reviews the board meeting. It just comes right from Marilyn.
So there's your opportunity when
that's
minutes
it.
are brought up, any discussion, and someone says, yeah, we missed a bunch of stuff here. So then
And-
technically, we really can't approve the minutes then, unless they're amended. And you can approve them as amended, but then,
And it would go on
Yeah.
today's minutes that you had something to discuss about the minutes. So it would go on today's minutes.
Okay. well,
That there was a problem with last month's.
well, that's different learning process for me.
That's different than what we've been doing for 2 years.
Well, longer than that.
Longer than that.
Is there-
Okay,
Is there any way
Yeah,
we can get
thank
the
you.
air conditioner a little cooler? It's really warm in here.
well, it's on 75. We might need a little bit more than that,
Two
yeah.
degrees maybe? Whew. Thank you.
Yeah, 72. All right, thank you, Jordan.
Give me the Wi-Fi so I can put it on my phone the next time. I might as well have everybody do.
So the minutes were approved. That's okay. I'm going to ask real quick and jump ahead to get this out of the way so I don't forget. Community maintenance, we're getting a lot of comments that the sidewalks need to be, the sidewalk needs to be cleaned, and the rain gutters, and also the sidewalk and rain gutters on Bluestone. He's given me a quote of $2,500 like last year, the same amount. I'm suggesting we should do this twice a year, but we'll talk about that later in the budget process. But I want to, number one, just the board to approve, because I told him to get the ball rolling to schedule us, but we still had to approve it.
Next week.
I know. He let me know.
I just
And,
found that out.
I was gonna bring it up. I think around the 10th, 11th, something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
not one
Yeah.
day next week.
And so all I need is a motion to approve spending $2,500.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right, we'll give it to Virginia to make the motion to spend $2,500 to clean the aforementioned sidewalk and rain gutters along Pebble Brook and Bluestone. Any other comments on that? And the second was by Warren. Any other comments? The only thing I need to say is that we'll need a purchase order from Laura. And I believe money has been added to that account for the purpose of doing this particular item, and we'll talk about that. I'll contact her to move money over and make sure there's enough in the account to cover this. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, so it's approved unanimously, and all we need now is to get a PO number out to community maintenance, and the gentleman's name is Harry. So I'm gonna consider that a done deal, and we'll talk about that about budgets in the future and how many times we want to do that a year.
And Joe, which account is that coming from?
That's a good question. I think it's gonna have to come from, I did get you
There's a road
copies.
maintenance one.
Oh, boy.
Sidewalk and roadway maintenance.
Yeah, sidewalk and roadway
services
maintenance.
Don't have a number on, they don't put numbers on it.
Yeah, and we're underfunded there, but I believe it's not reflected in here. We were looking to get the money that we were getting back from ADT to put into there to have money.
In that same light, Joe, I did reach out to Sweeper Man down in Bonita Springs. He's the one that does roads here out in Gateway, and he also does Pelican, to see what the cost would be to do our roads in Stoneybrook. He was familiar with it.
Mhm.
And
He's done it before. It was a lot of years
yeah.
ago. Yeah.
so we discussed it, and to do all the roads in Stoneybrook would be $720. It's $72 a mile to do that. And then that's doing it either once or quarterly. If you go beyond quarterly, I assume the price would come down, because I think Pelican does it every month, and they're paying a lot less than that. But this is something I think we need to look at, because our streets look like crapola.
Yeah, they're pretty dirty. And which is going to bring up another subject, because we're going to talk about landscaping a little bit here
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I think
Because
this is
I
something-
have issues with Mainscape right now.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that. And I'm sure you will agree about the trimming not getting done and whatnot, and the grass cutting not getting done properly. But I will say this, I do not believe we have 10 miles of road in our.
Well, that's up, and that's going, you and I have talked about this before, and I've always said it's about 9 miles. And you say, no, it's only so much, because, but this is going the
Up
whole
and down.
route.
So
up and
he's
down.
saying he's measuring down the street.
Yeah,
coming
pretty
back
much.
up
He
the
said
street.
it's probably a little less than 10, but 10 is
Yeah.
a good round number to start with.
All right, yeah, if you're measuring up and down, of course, because he's got, I guess he blows both ways, is that what's
Well,
happening?
he picks it up, and it
It
picks up.
sweeps it up,
Oh, it
okay, so
sweeps
he
up,
goes
yeah.
down one side, comes back up the
Yeah,
other side,
yeah.
gotcha, okay. That's close, I agree with
Keeps
that.
the leaves out of Brian's gutters.
Okay, I also want to mention at this time, for the record, part of my discussion with him was to get us an estimate. If the HOA chooses to go in this direction, I do not see us doing it, because Gateway doesn't do this. Is to clean sidewalks in front of people's houses. And his estimate for just doing the sidewalks in front of people's houses, and that's, don't forget, your street doesn't even have a sidewalk.
Nope.
And we're not talking rain gutter, $13,900.
No.
And if you want to do with the rain gutter, you can probably looking at $17,000, $18,000. So that's for the information, if you want to pass that on to your board there.
Yeah, I would look to get another estimate, because I know this guy is good.
He's
done my
good and
roof
he's,
everything else.
and he's,
But I know there's an up and coming service that a lot of people are using now, and I know it's significantly less expensive. That boss lady,
I get 3 quotes.
and,
all right, well, for this time, we're gonna do the 2,500.
oh, yeah.
But as far as doing the big job, and,
Hey,
Joe, you got
yeah, I see.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, can I help you?
I would just like to make a comment
Yes.
regarding the
Please.
association or the CDD.
do we have a permit from you to talk?
Can you come to the podium, please?
Certainly. Let me bring my book because I have the section.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was determined, and for the record, Margaret Feinberg, Stoneybrook. I don't know how it was determined that the association or the CDD would be responsible for cleaning of the sidewalks. I don't know what question was specifically asked of who it was asked. But according to 5.5 of our documents,
That's what it was.
it says owners were responsible for the landscape area from the pavement edge of any abutting street to the water line of any abutting lake. And they're responsible for walkways and paved parking areas and the grass. I don't know how you get any clearer than from the edge of the roadway to the edge of the abutting lake.
I have stood at the podium at our community and said that exact thing. But there are people who want to hear what they want to hear and believe what they want to
And
believe.
I have a sidewalk in front of my house. And to be honest with you, I would be embarrassed to say to 777 of my neighbors, you have to pay to clean the sidewalk in front of my house when I have to do the driveway. And that's what, if you look down the roads, if you're just doing the sidewalk, you're crossing over everybody's driveway. So they have to stop and then start, and then stop and then start, and then stop and then start.
I think the problem they're having with the wording, on the surface, it seems like there's some conflict. Don't leave yet. And one of them has to do with the word maintenance and maintaining the sidewalks in front of people's houses is what they're thinking. And really, we've always interpreted, and I agree with, that it's the sidewalks that are not in front of people's houses. The
Correct.
common area, those are the true common areas. In addition to that, I think we need to communicate, and this board needs to communicate, I mean, the HOA board, to the residents that trees in front of your house are your responsibility. Those are your trees. And if that tree breaks up the sidewalk in front of your house, that's your responsibility. So if you see a potential problem there, you may want to take that tree down. I know I don't have a sidewalk and I'm gonna take my
Without
tree down.
approval.
Those of us from the north, when it snows, we don't call the city to come out and clean our sidewalks.
No.
You know, you get out there with a shovel and clean it. I mean, that's just the only way it goes. And it, to me, it's the same thing. If you got something dirty, it's broke on your sidewalk. That's just the way it is. That's something that you get, and we have it written in our documents. And the documents have only been in effect since 2008, 7, whatever.
Well, the actual
Nothing, that
document,
hasn't changed. That
the
hasn't
actual
changed.
documents that were given to us that were created for the HOA when it was created in 2003.
Well,
And,
yes, but
and we inherited them in 2007 and modified them in 2014, 15. But in any case, I agree with everything you're saying and what you're saying, and that
it's always been the case.
I do just want to say it again, that while the HOA/Gateway is responsible for the sidewalks and maintenance for certain repairs unless caused by your tree that breaks it up. And God forbid, someone trips on that messed up sidewalk due to that. It may be your homeowner's insurance that's going to have to deal with it. Yeah. Okay, so it is what it
I
is.
just wanted to bring that up
No,
for the
no.
record, the actual section,
5.5.
because I just
No.
don't know how much
Don't.
clearer you get in language.
don't confuse things with facts, Margaret.
I just
I
forwarded
have
the
a sidewalk. in front of
email
my house. I keep it
response
We keep ours clean
from
too,
the
don't we?
folks
Yeah, of course.
to you and her regarding sidewalks.
And I'll say it again, lawyers are wrong half the time. Otherwise, we'd have no court cases. And I can almost guarantee you that the boss didn't read all of our documents and didn't really review them. He looked at the maintenance comment that was made elsewhere about sidewalks and common areas, and did not read that 5.5. And there's 2 other sections in there also that touch upon that. So I know exactly what the boats are talking about. And there's also, remember, we've dealt with the boats. He used to be our attorney way back.
And I know you emailed all that information to the board. If you find that email in your emails, will you forward that to me? Because I know there are other sections.
Yeah, I wrote down a list and I emailed copies. I excerpted, cut and pasted and did that. I'll check and see if I can dig it up because I just cleaned up my emails. It may be gone, but I do have the list of those sections in the documents.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I wanted just to make that statement. You approve the cleaning of the rain gutters and cement. Okay, we've done that. Pebble stone. Landscaping and responsibilities within Stoneybrook. I want to just touch that real quick. We have just now, and I haven't really had a chance to really look at it, we got an estimate to pick up some of the cost of the area. And this would be for next year's budget from land care, if in fact they start to do the areas that are in the past have been considered drainage areas. And we've had Mainscape do. We're going to have to talk to Mainscape how much they're going to reduce if they're going to continue to do our contract. Which brings me up to another subject, because I looked at, if everybody has in front of them, this is the Gateway Services Community Development District, and this is for 21, 20, and 22. And if you look down toward landscaping, what's happened here? Mainscapes has jumped from $118,000 in fiscal. The budget that we created was 118 based upon the previous year. And they're predicting for a full year 2021, 147,700. How did they go up 29,000? How did that
New
happen?
contract came into play.
See, the problem I
It's a
have
3-year
with,
contract, started April 1st.
okay, started April 1st.
April 1st is when that
Okay,
new
so
contract
and
went into
that's the
effect.
new annual number.
Correct.
So I want to.
So basically what happens is you only have the 6 months.
I
till the new
kind of
budget.
saw this coming because maybe I saw this before some of you guys did. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted this. Okay, because I want to tell you right now, we're going to be looking at, and I'm going to make a suggestion to the board going to the HOA board that maybe they take another look at land care to do the whole damn thing inside of Stoneybrook. And they'll do it with 2 contracts. Because we will pass that and get that a contract approved when the time comes for by the Board of Supervisors and to put it through here. But that's going to be my suggestion, okay, to take a look at it.
I think you're gonna have to bid it out. I don't think you can just say.
No, I know, I agree.
Okay, just,
And what we have here is a bid. I guess the Mainscapes is telling us how much they're going to charge. And you have bid this out already, correct?
We did. That was last year. We bid all this out and Mainscape came
And,
back was the cheapest. That's why we stayed with
and
them.
honestly, I didn't realize that our number was going to be for next year that large. And that's a huge increase to me. I know they're having health problems. Everybody is, Gateway is. Our security company is getting people, but that's a big chance. Maybe we can do something with the guys from Land Care to take the whole thing over.
are you familiar with the Mainscape's contract total? I got just the workable stuff. I got a bunch of pages, but in our contract with our landscaper for the Sun Valley Loop, we included that they cannot, each year they can increase their amount, but they can't increase it more than 5%.
You put a limit at 5%.
Well, they've always kept it at 3%. It goes between 3 and 5%. They go 3%. Is there anything in our Gateway contract that limits how much they can go up each year on a multi-year contract?
For the terms of the contract, 3-year contract can limit how much it goes up in the second year.
I would have to look at it because what they did is they broke it down and pretty much Mainscape was pretty much even across the board.
Yeah, I've
Some
got
of
the
them,
breakdown.
some of them go each year a little bit higher, like the personal touch. As far as that, they got
Yeah.
so much this year and $3,000 more the following year.
So they write it up as a 3-year contract.
Correct.
Okay. I thought that was the case, but I wasn't sure because I didn't read the many pages ahead of the important stuff.
Yeah, these numbers were provided, like I say, when we read the bids out loud to everybody, what they were going to be.
Yeah, we weren't there. at
Back
that
in
meeting
November.
properly, Yeah.
Well, they don't do that.
I don't remember hearing that. I'm not sure he's even there, but in any case, it's still shocking. I do have another question also, and I'm jumping a little bit, but utility fees. How the hell did we go from a budgeting 30 and jumping up to 60,000 for?
Are we working on the budget now?
No, I'm just asking a question because I went through, I know, and I did jump, and I apologize, from landscaping to that, because it's sitting right next to it on the sheet.
39,000. Who, plus 26,000, I see. I got 2022. You looking off this one here, Joe?
Yeah.
Because it says here's 2022 budget's 26,000.
I see that. I guess what I'm asking,
You were projected at 2021 for 60,000.
where did that 60 come from? I guess I'm asking.
I have no idea. I have to ask because it
We'll
says
get-
right here, your budget was 30, your actual was 39, according to 20.
Yeah, and then that doesn't make any sense whether throwing the 26,000 figure. We'll get back to that. I thought there might be a quick answer. Somebody told me what was going on with that utility piece and where that came from. Oh, boy. All right. Get back to the agenda. I apologize for that jump. So landscaping responsibilities within Stoneybrook. We're meeting
Pathway project.
pathway project, we're coming back to that. I'm gonna let Lauren touch upon that. And I do have a question also about records. Since it is I'll discuss that when we get back to the pathway. Street cleaning in Stoneybrook, we took care of that, approved it. If Laura needs anything more from me, she can let me know. If she needs a letter from me telling her where to move the money from. We've got replacement trees on Pebble Brook. How did that get, who's brought that one up? You did?
That's the 5 trees. They're called Orchid Trees. They're down by the first lift station. The 5 trees go along. 3 of them are totally dead. 2 of them are slowly dying. Elle and Jim were out and we looked at them and stuff too. And Elle says they need to come out. They're just bad. And we talked about it. And
Can I cut to the
got a
chase
handout.
on this one?
Huh?
Is this HOA or now, or is
No,
this?
it's gonna be, it's CDD.
You sure?
It is. Yeah, should be.
It doesn't say draft on it.
Huh?
Your draft has
It
that.
says draft, yeah.
No, that one doesn't. Do you want that, is that your original
Yeah, it must be my original.
Do you have one?
draft?
I think you'll see here,
Or that one?
the first, there's 2 pictures attached. One has the 4 trees that need to come out, and Elle and Jim recommended putting sable palms in to replace them. They're less expensive. It'd be about $150 per tree. On the second page is another tree that is slowly dying, and Elle says that, that needs to get done if we're gonna do them. And we talked and decided we probably wouldn't need to put another tree there because of the bushes and stuff that are right in there anyway. That tree probably shouldn't be there. But the other picture has the 4 trees that would be cut down, and the palms and be some other stuff in there, some sod that would have to be put down.
So these palms right here would just continue?
Yes.
What intersection is that, Warren? I
Well,
didn't-
that's Gemstone.
Gemstone.
Yeah, from the lift station south, there's 5 of these trees. And there's only 5 trees on our street on Pebble Brook. And Elle looked at them, Jim looked at them, and they're all convinced that the 3 are dead. The other 2 are slowly dying, and we need to replace them. They're an invasive tree, and
Really?
Those Japanese orchids are.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Those are the Japanese orchids you're
Yeah,
referring to,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, these aren't
And-
invasive, they're dying.
Huh?
They're not succeeding all that well. If they're not invasive.
They're not doing their job.
But
As an invasive species.
the cost to do that, based on what we paid to have the trees cut down on the other side, would be about $350 to $400 per tree, and then about $150 per sable palm for 4 palms. They say those are the best to put in there right now. Cost-wise, maintenance-wise, they're easier to more maintain than the queen palms or anything else. And stuff. And they're pretty much everything else on Pebble Brook are sable palms. Right across the street are more sable palms, and it's kind of El's recommendation that it would kind of balance out having them on both sides. So I think we'd probably be talking somewhere around $2,500 to $3,000, depending on the cost of taking the trees down. I don't think putting them back in is not going to be as costly, but cutting the trees down and chipping them out would be about $350 to $400 from what we paid before. So I don't know how much,
Who are you figuring to get that price from right now?
I would send out this RFP. I got some things to add to it. I just thought that'd be the easiest way for everybody to take a look at it, but we'd send it probably to our current place, Anchor, maybe, what's that other one that's in here quite a bit? I want to say Judah, but it's not Judah.
I want to say that I also have a company that.
Joshua Trees.
Joshua one that off, whatchamacallit uses and subs it out to, aren't they?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's plenty of companies out there. The problem right now is that they're all so busy. And the costs have gone up. We've got some trees coming out on our loop, and the costs are high because they're in no hurry to come out, and they're going to charge you more. They're not going to rush.
Which gets to the point also from a budget standpoint, we might prefer to put this off until later in the year.
That's why I wanted to hear some talk about the budget wise. It's good to put them in during rainy season because you get a lot of good rain into them. But
I agree.
I say that'd be about 3,000. And I was going to talk to Laura about that, but she's off this week to see if there's some funds there. Only place I can see some funds is in our landscaping.
Well,
since we haven't mulched all year, we have about $12,000 in there that's been budgeted that hasn't been spent.
But we need to mulch.
Well, we might need to mulch, but we're not mulching.
Yeah.
I think we missed the time. So, and it's budgeted for just under $12,000 for that. So something to take a look at.
Yeah, plant replacement program, we've got a lot of money in there. And I don't know if you call a tree a plant, but it seems like it is.
Well, yeah, I would think
Palms are.
I wanted to get enough.
Yeah, they're bushes, that's right.
Well, I like this plan here because it's a continuation of those palms. I think no problem. But when you do possibly take out the one on number 5, I'm seeing a huge pole back here, something that's going to show up. Hopefully, what is it?
Probably a light pole that'll provide more light now, no?
I didn't.
It doesn't look like a light pole.
What? Oh, look at the gap. I can't figure out what that
I
is.
think the light poles are black though.
Yeah.
Well, they're supposed to be black.
Yeah.
You know, the paints are fading. It's like it's silver, yeah.
I'll have to drive down there. Let's see what
That could
is.
be, because we looked at that pretty close to see if we wanted to put another tree in there. And when you go by there, take a look,
Well-
and you'll see a lot of bushes and stuff in there that kind of balance that whole thing out there for when they put the lift station.
So it's gemstone right here. That's the crosswalk.
Yeah, the lift station, well, it's right behind the Kubi trucks,
Yeah.
trash can.
And that's by Gemstone, right?
Yeah.
I recognize it. All right, I don't think this is something we're gonna really resolve today, okay?
No.
And we'll get, but now it's on the subject and we'll kick this can down the road and possibly put it into the next budget if need be.
That, or we'll see it, when Laura comes back, I can get a more up-to-date availability of funds.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for doing that work. Sounds like a plan.
That, or we can go out and get the chainsaw, so I might just cut them down. I think it's just part of making it halfway decent. When you drive in and you go around the corner and you see 5 dead trees, it don't make you too encouraged. So,
My goal is if you take one down You need to put one back
Take 'em
up
down,
too.
take 'em down from-
Gotta budget that.
Okay, so on the replacement of the trees, we got, see what has to be done, but we're not gonna make any decisions on that at this point in time. Okay, so I'm gonna get back now to the, real quick, and I don't want to kill a lot of time on this either, and that is the, where we stand with the pathway. And we'll move on from that. That is item here, number 3.
It's there. There's no update.
Okay,
We're still scheduled January 10th. I got double checked with Laura. They were going to type up a PO for that, and I'm gonna get a copy of that, so there's really nothing
okay,
else.
and we just need to remember to put that in the budget, the next budget.
Oh, that's
we're gonna
fine,
be doing.
yeah,
Okay, add that in. And I have a question for you, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes when we do these bids and projects and whatnot, we generate a lot of paper. And a lot of times in the past, I've been storing this paper in my house, and I've got multiple filing cabinets, and I really do want to cut that down. Should I be turning some of this in for your office staff to file away for their own records when we do something like that?
We've been pretty much trying to put everything electronically.
Yeah.
And here,
will they take
because-
that and take this stuff and look at it, scan what they think is significant and save it? For example, when we put something out to bid, we're obviously doing it to meet the legal requirement, and therefore there should be some documentation that we have done it. And that's the kind of stuff sometimes I get. Do you guys want that?
I don't
You
think,
guys ever done that in the
I
past?
personally think that you should not have anything at your house that they don't have down here in their
I
file.
agree. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, and because I was looking for something today and they didn't have it. I knew I had it somewhere, so I spent 2 hours going through my stuff and I found it. And I brought it down and gave it to Chris, but there's a lot of those things that have come up, since I'd like going public record requests.
Sure.
I find out a lot of things that aren't there that I know are done or stuff. So that's, I think anything we have needs to come right here.
Well, here, as chairman, here's my pathway folder. I'm willing to turn it over to you, Brian, and maybe somebody take a look at.
We can do that, and I'll
Okay.
check, see if they want to keep it. If they want to scan it and keep it, we can
And
do
what they
that.
do, yeah.
And like I said, I know we're doing our own because what we've been doing, Laura has, they've got additional garbage cans back here where it goes into here and then goes in the shredder because just way too much paper.
Yep.
That's my too. except I got snow.
So we're done with the pathway? That's it?
Yeah,
Other
that's
than
it.
the fact we know we're
Until
gonna
later
seal
on
it?
in the year, then
Yeah,
we'll.
and I'll tell
pick
you,
it up again.
and I personally think the longer we even hold off on that sealing, maybe the better, just because there'll be less complications if the pavement is not completely cured and hard and dry,
Yeah, well,
And the
that's
longer
something.
we wait, the drier it tends to be a little bit in the middle of the winter. All right, I'm ready to go talk about budget stuff. I'm sure that's what Margaret's waiting for over there. Yep, sorry about that, Margaret. I want to get those things out. They have been scheduled.
May I make one comment? There's a lot of debris on that pathway right now. There's dirt from when they dug those trenches to put in the root
I agree,
control.
and it's ugly.
And the grass is growing over on it. They're not trimming the grass back. If that gets any worse, they're not gonna be able to seal it properly when that time comes around.
Yeah, they're gonna have to, I've been down there, they're gonna have to do that, because again, Mainscapes is not doing the job. If they edged it according to their contract, they're supposed to use a
And
steel
they-
edger.
They never have. I've been to
No.
meetings with them before and brought that up and they just ignored it.
Yep.
No,
Now, I do want to say something. I got an email today from Jim. And Jim is landscaping, I guess?
Yeah.
And he said something about the contract with Mainscape, that the number of times they're supposed to cut is ambiguous.
Yeah, pretty much we asked them, it looks like it's about 40
It's
to 42 times a
42
year.
times.
Yeah, I think it actually says it.
Contract.
The issue is if there's a misunderstanding where those 42 times a year apply. I could see that question, but I know this map exists. Everybody's given it. Freddie's, I probably personally given Freddie about a dozen of these over the years, color coded maps. And it should spell that out where that cutting is occurring, supposed to occur. With that said, I don't know how much, okay, I don't know how much I want to dwell on that subject right now. And I agree, they're not doing the job
Yeah.
because we may not want them doing the job in the
Well,
future.
that stretch from Pebble Stone to Greenstone needs a total workout. I mean, there's so much crap in there, they haven't edged it. The contract calls for them to blow it.
And they're not
They
doing it.
don't do that.
Well, they edge it, but they cut it behind the grass that's growing out on the sidewalk,
Yeah,
on
they,
the pathway. I mean, they
anybody,
edge it, but
to me,
it's-
anybody can cut grass. It's no big deal to cut the grass, but to make it look good, you gotta have good edging, you gotta clean the sidewalks and some
It's
of
not
the
happening.
stuff is 6, 8 inches out onto the sidewalk.
Well, some places the grass is at least that tall right now.
Well, right
In
now
fact,
it's very
mine-
high.
And my next door neighbor was complaining to me that she lost her little dog was getting lost in the grass.
Yeah, it's tough. You gotta pay attention.
I know. In any case, we got an issue and that's something, but let's do budget right now. I think we can rip down this because we know I do need to get some answers on certain things. I do not understand where the $60,000 utility fees projected for 2021 is coming from. That boggles my mind. That's under landscape
Why don't we
services.
start at the top?
Okay, well, engineering fees, we don't change that. Attorney's fees. We usually, leave it at 1,000. Rarely do we go over. I'm not sure now, and looking back at it, why it was $24.90 for 2020, but it was. And so far, it appears that we're keeping well under that in fiscal 2021. So those two things are really, not much to talk about.
You really
Anybody have-
knows the same.
Let's just make those the same then.
Yeah. Anybody object to that? Okay, but leave those the same. Brian, how can I find out what that $60,000 is?
Well, you keep saying $60,000 on
I'm talking
2021
at the
projected.
projected for 2021.
Well, I'm looking at 2022 projected is
I know.
26,000.
It's 26. But that number may be a joke if the 60,000 is real. I don't understand it.
Well, I have to get with Laura to find out what is actually we're using right now.
What's included in the utility fees?
Like I say, I'll get with her because
Okay, yes,
it's
I don't
got a
know what that-
breakdown of all the different stuff that's
Yeah.
included on the utilities, and I'll find out from her. She gets back Monday and figure out where all that number
Oh,
came
she's out of
from.
town. right
She's,
now?
she's on vacation.
Okay, I didn't know that. Because my next question, can we bring her in?
Yeah. I sent a request for some information and I got the response.
She's off to
Gone.
Monday.
I have a suggestion. To make a number, I don't know where 26,000 is coming from. In 2020, we did 39. We budgeted for 30. I'm trying to remember why would we have dropped 30,000 from the previous year when we budgeted, unless there was some additional cost that we knew about that was wrong. Can anybody remember anything? Margaret, any recall? You know what I'm talking about here? Utility fees 26. I'm thinking that we should go above what the budget is for utility fees right now. We're budgeted.
Could it be that we were wanting to put in new, word thing? We've always talked about adding meters.
Yeah, but that's much less money and it hasn't been done. And I meant, and that was to split the two along 82. Because you cut that to 2 meters without doing a lot of other things. What happens is that they're treated as separate bills and therefore you're not getting to that punitive level of where things start getting up to I think it was $4 a thousand gallons or something like that.
Because it's under
Right, you know what I'm talking about?
services,
There
and
was
that's
a
the only
valid
thing I
like
can
that
think of that the concern may have been why it was a freeze for the budget was water use. It has to.
Well, ours went way up. And I don't know if that's in this utility figure. But we had because that should not be charged to us if it's on an 82, that would be HOA money. But that went through the roof because we had those serious leaks, if you recall. And they were dickering about how much we wanted to pay to fix it. Meanwhile, we ran up a $9,000 irrigation bill out there due to the leak. And a lot of that was due to punitive money when we got into the big numbers. And that went on for a couple of billing cycles, which is kind of hard to believe. In any case,
I thought it was something that we didn't think we were gonna have to pay, or we were being charged for, but shouldn't have been charged for.
Well, that was the ADT in the Gatehouse. And they had that coded as a utility for the
All
Gatehouse.
right, but that's not in here.
Yeah, it's not in there.
Okay, all right.
No, this is under the landscaping
Yeah,
and
yeah.
services. And this is utilities for landscaping services. And I have to confess, I don't get it. Is that,
Was it consideration of changing out the irrigation systems along Pebble Brook? There was some discussion at one time about
oh, that was way back.
starting to work on the irrigation.
Yeah, I don't,
systems
yeah,
so that
but
it
this
wasn't
says
spraying
you,
on the sidewalk.
yeah, this is utility fees though.
I can't recall what we're talking about.
Nothing
I
to do
didn't
with,
pull my notes out on it.
nothing to do with the
Right.
aerator.
Can you make a notation to yourself, Brian?
Yeah.
that When Lori gets back, to please try to dig out what is included under landscaping services for utility fees.
That's projected, that's over budget.
I agree. And I, I'm almost looking at this thinking something mistake was made or something. That's just not a real number. Something happened. We budgeted for 30. The actual for the previous year was 39.6. And all of a sudden, this thing is projecting 60 for the year. Just to move on, I'd like to suggest that we plug 35 grand in to where it says 26.
Okay,
That's,
35,
yeah, and I'm saying that number because it's pretty much a split between 20 and 21. The actual in 2020 and what we budgeted for 2021 last year. You follow what I'm saying? Anybody have any comment on that, making that 35?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay, and keep in mind, you can't go up, you can go down. So you do have time to do that. But I would like to get an answer about that 60,000. I'm writing in $35,000 there. So that's gonna be a +9 right there. Landscape contractual services. Now, the budget projects 115. I don't know where that number comes from, because here we, for 2022, and we've got a projection for 2021 of 148, nearly 148,000. And something's got to give there. And I suspect we won't be paying 147.7 for long.
But if they're projecting 147,000 and it's budgeted at 118, what has occurred to increase that number?
I believe that the contract for landscaping contractual services got jacked up. Is that
No.
correct?
No.
And that was strictly,
I don't know where it's come from, because all 3 years, they went for 118,000, whatever, 160. And the breakdown,
But he just said April 1st.
Your new contract took effect April 1st.
yeah.
And it was probably
where is
project,
that at? I've not been able to get a
Well,
copy of that.
with the new contracts, like I say, you guys didn't renew the tree contract, so it might have been for tree also, but that got taken out. So you gotta remember, since you all didn't do the personal touch as far as the tree
That's
part.
possible.
So there's your additional probably 25 or 30,000, but I do know the Mainscape contract did go up a little bit. And that was just signed at April 1st, because personal touch was asking about Stoneybrook. And we said, okay, we made sure there was the right amount because you guys were not part of that contract with the tree trimming.
That's correct.
Okay, so
So possibly this 147.7, this projection may actually include tree trimming in it.
It probably did, because it was all part of that.
That would make sense, because I know the last time when we were talking about
Mm.
those type of contracts, there was one that was extremely low.
but the,
And I might be mistaken, but wasn't Mainscape one of the lowest? But if we were going out to bid for an RFP, why didn't we look at land care?
it's never been in the landscaping contract before. To do the trees.
Was it in the RFP?
No, we had a separate contract to do the trees with Anchor.
And that's what we were paying, like 461 or 462 a month, something like that, some ridiculous number that we didn't.
Yeah, but they really jacked it up. They went from like $691 a month to, they were gonna be like $17,000, $18,000 a year now, which is more like $1,500 or $1,400 a month.
That's right.
I do know the Gateway contract itself is Anchor was like 40.
Yeah.
Personal Touch next was 57. So everything did go up in price on the tree trimming alone per year. I can tell you that because they jumped, because Anchor actually doubled their quote to 78 because they realized they were losing money.
But this does not, well, of course, this is the last contract. I don't have a copy of the new one yet. And this did not include any tree trimming or any trees, except there was another one, which I didn't bring with me, because I don't think we're going to talk about it, a contract on strictly trees and those different things that go with trees, separate from the landscape.
That was Anchor, probably.
Yeah, it was Anchor, but it was already bid out. I mean, it was never included in this landscaping contract. So I don't know.
I will agree with that. And I think what he's saying is that number there isn't just that contract. It's all categories under landscaping, yes.
No, they don't list trees under the previous contract. I can't see them.
Yeah, in the contract, I'm talking about in the budget though. Budget's a separate item.
Well, that's.
I'll have to double check with Laura, but like I say, because here it
What's
says
that
landscape
147?
contractual,
Yeah.
and we'll double check on that.
Now, the other issue is if we take land care, takes care of, even if we stay with mainscapes along Pebble Brook, which is up in the air, we're going to give land care the additional areas to cut that are drainage areas right now. And because Mainscape had been doing that, and Gateway is asked to get away from the responsibility of overseeing that. So we are going to see if we can get land care to cut those areas. The issue will become down is to how many times it'll be getting cut. Or is that going to be a 42 time?
I think I read it in here, no?
I didn't read everything in there. Let's see. All right, we'll talk about that. Yeah, we don't have to make a decision on that right now. So the issue comes down right now is tree trimming in that number, because I'm making a suggestion that tree trimming in the future may become the
Separated.
or if we handle it, but really that's an HOA thing. These trees are not on, for the most part, on Gateway land.
Well, I think we need to talk a little bit more in depth about that. I don't totally agree with some of the approach we're taking on this. I think we're cutting lines too close and nickel diamond things back and forth. I think that we're pushing something we don't need to push. I think my understanding is, Brian, correct me, is that Gateway, your job, you guys don't want to be out there supervising what's going on in Stoneybrook as far as the landscaping is concerned.
We were concerned with the track A and track B. Margaret and I and Joe, we went over this before. Track A is what we're supposed to be maintaining. It's pretty much from your sidewalk to the street.
Right.
Track B is pretty much Stoneybrook's, which is a whole different animal. Now you're including all the different trees and everything else. And us being Gateway, we shouldn't be managing track B. That should be Stoneybrook.
But in a recent conversation, I believe we did come to an understanding that we would not require you to maybe manage it, but maybe we can continue to do it.
Correct. We did agree upon that.
Okay, so I think that's enough said on that subject.
So we want the 04 account to cover things from the sidewalk to the road, and then from the sidewalk back through the rest of the right of way and easement area be covered by Stoneybrook.
He's saying that we
That's
could,
not the agreement.
yeah.
We worked it all out, and that they would continue doing what they had been doing up and down Pebble Brook and at the cul-de-sacs. But we need to have a landscape committee within Stoneybrook that monitors if they're doing a good job or not.
So in other words, the
We didn't want
landscape
to have
people, they didn't
Gateway
want to,
staff doing
Yeah, then I don't blame them for that, because I think Stony Brook.
It's still
needs to
gonna
take
come out of the
his-
same account. So
Yeah.
don't confuse, still coming out of the same account. That we agreed upon.
Yeah.
We just didn't want Jim or L to go down there and be covering those additional areas when technically we
Okay,
shouldn't.
And that's kind of my point. We
Okay.
need to keep it pretty much the way it is, except for probably those two big areas behind Stone Valley and that other one down by, I think, Weatherstone, that huge areas, that should go to the HOA, but the other stuff should stay the way it is. Why confuse things in doing that? And haven't been heard, then I haven't seen anything in writing on what's going to happen. I think we need to do that. We need to put it in writing, because 5 years from now, there's going to be 7 new people on this board and no one's going to know what's going on. So that's something we need to work on as we go along, not right now. Okay, I think we're understanding.
All right, in that particular case, though, I just want to say that I also am going to recommend, and I have suggested to some of you already, considering asking for bids for what fees would be to bring their people out on a per day basis, with an estimate of how many times or how many days it would take to do a specific job. Because right now, the contractual thing, I'm not sure was working for us. We've been paying for the last few months, and we basically had nothing.
On
done.
trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, on the tree trimming. And this is tree trimming above a certain amount. Under 14 feet, though, that should still be getting done by the landscaper, isn't it?
Should be done by Mainscape.
Okay, now, because that brings up an interesting point. I might need you to look into this, or Jim. I've had some complaints that people were saying on a couple of streets, one in particular, Gemstone at the cul-de-sac. The trees are low enough to hit cars as they're going around the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Those need to get trimmed.
Yeah, the umbrella's way low.
Yeah.
On a couple of them. Yeah.
And so we need to get those in the cul-de-sac trimmed, okay? I don't know.
So are we leaving landscape contractual services?
I would say, once again, let's up that number. Find out what reality is here. Because we don't even know if the tree trimming factually is in that 147. It may be. If that's the case, you can probably knock about 16, 18,000 off of that, but then it's still going to cost us money to trim.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be free. So,
And that could be expensive.
yeah, well, I've gotten a number of $1,250 a day right now.
Yeah,
And
what?
supposedly they $1,250 a day. And supposedly they can do our community in 3 days. So that's less than we were paying, you know, when you,
Yeah, but we pay just over 4,000 to do 210 palm trees in our loop. And most of them palm trees, though, are the queen palms with the fancy stuff. And those have to get trimmed, whereas the
well, I would strongly
the ones we
suggest,
have on Pebble Brook really don't need as much trimming. Cleanup more so than anything. The only thing that there is the oak trees and the other trees that need to be trimmed up.
Joe,
yes.
what are the little numbers?
The what's that?
What are the little numbers here for?
6 months. Yeah.
6 times 93.50.
Yeah,
times
6
times-
months.
That was
Is
the
what
quote.
he's looking at, because you got 6 months of the new contract.
Oh, okay.
Because you would have to have from 6 months on the new one, April through September,
Ah, okay.
be my
So-
guess.
So that's what they're pulling out, yeah. It's a lot of money. I think we got to go up on this number.
Oh, no
Yes.
question, 118.
And it may be significant until we find out a couple of things, because we have asked Land Care for an estimate to go and do the things that Mainscape are doing right now. And given this a little bit, I got to look at it. I'm just seeing it, what it is about. I'm thinking maybe 140 in that number. And then we can back off if we need be. We find out some other information. Any comment? Anybody?
We're shooting in the dark.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
But what we're basically doing is coming up with a number that we can back off of, because I'll say it again, you can't go up later on. When you get to a certain point in the stage, you know, you can, June, yeah, you can go down, you can't go up after that. Okay?
Yeah.
Got any comment on that there,
140?
Chris?
No, it seems
That's gonna include the tree,
Realistic as you can would be one eye closed, so.
I'm sorry to hear you.
I think if that's gonna include the tree trimming, I think that would be a good number. right
Okay.
now.
Yeah,
140 even,
Yep.
done.
Well, that's an increase 25 grand. Landscape repairs. Yes, and that's different from irrigation repairs. What would be landscape repairs? Because I
You
see
gotta take
that
a-
we're over budget on that right now, and I'm not sure why.
Landscape repairs being things, say a car ran over a bush or a tree or something like that, and you gotta
Main
replace
sod.
it or something
Not
out of
a
the
bush, more
ordinary.
sod.
Yes, that could be sod too.
Good point.
I mean, if you
Yeah,
got,
and we did do some sodding, yeah.
somebody took trees out,
And I see
put sod back.
they kicked that up to 3,000, which is only estimated 1,000. Leave that alone?
Yes.
Leave it at 3.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Everybody in agreement on that?
Mhm.
Okay, irrigation repairs. They got 13. We had 13 last year. So far, we're projected for 25, 21.
The irrigation system's getting older.
Yeah.
I definitely would increase your budget, don't go down.
Let me say this about that, and that's a Nixon line, I know. In our, remember, we put $10,000 away every year. And for certain kinds of maintenance and repairs, and I got it here somewhere where we were at the end of the year.
I think that this is one place where,
Go ahead.
we, years ago, we had, well, probably 3 or 4 years ago, we talked about actually starting to replace the irrigation heads up and down Pebble Brook so that they were more efficient. And you're gonna make more efficient heads and they weren't gonna be spraying over the sidewalk. They would
Yeah.
do the strips.
The special little ones that sprinkle out the little droplets, they don't blow as far in the problem with.
Really need to consider phasing, like over 4 years or, but it's already where the irrigation is old enough, it's gonna need replacement.
And a lot less water goes into the street when you do that too,
Yeah.
how much water we waste. But I do want to say something about that. When you put those different kinds of heads in, it required substantial changing in the piping. You had to relocate those heads because they didn't have cover the same area. And I'm sure you would agree with that. And the estimate that we had from Mainscape back then was in the $50,000, $60,000 range, as I recall.
And then that was for doing all the whole.
Both sides of Pebble
street,
Brook.
Both sides of the street.
Yeah.
But
Assessing what could be
that's
changed, need to be changed, you know.
why- That's why phasing it in, starting down at one end and just working it back the other way.
I believe the problem, and we did sort of ask that question, the problem was that you can do sections that way, but not everything. There's points where you could do that. And the changing of the plumbing was going to dictate where you could limit your change was to occur. And there might be smaller areas, larger areas. And I'll draw a comparison to that. Remember when we were picking spots for lights?
Yeah.
We were limited by that 300-foot limit to where an electrical box was. It had to be within that. And then, of course, you looked at where you had a place to play, what trees were there, and it became more complicated than you might think. But a similar type of thing happens when you're redoing the irrigation.
Well, maybe Mainscapes isn't the company that have to do that. They're not exactly
I
cost
agree.
effective.
I agree. And they probably sub it out anyway sometimes, some of that work. And that's something we can talk about. But I do want to throw out to Chris here to consider that this might be considered a capital improvement. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, I'm not gonna think.
I know.
I'm not saying nothing on it.
That's what we were considering
I'm not
way back
thinking
then,
of that stuff.
was to call it a capital improvement and take it out of the tracking money number for the capital resale contributions and put that into the,
He's saying
004 fund.
HOA funds
Yeah.
instead of.
Yeah.
To do.
Because that would be a lot of money to increase taxes for. And it'll be a one-shot deal. It'll be 1 year. So food for thought. And that would be my suggestion, to really have a long-term. And if we were to do that, then this number would be, we can knock that down, the irrigation repair number. Otherwise,
I think the one thing I just found out this week, we had our irrigation checks around, and the irrigation tech was telling me that a lot of the heads that we have now are original ones. And as they change them out, the newer ones are a little more expensive. They're better, but they do that. So they're changing them out that way, and it's costing us, because it's hitting us pretty hard this year.
yeah, well, the ones we were talking about that Margaret's referring to were the newer types, and they were
Yeah.
the latest and
They're
greatest.
more expensive. That, and our irrigation costs have not skyrocketed, but they've been going up a lot more than what we.
Well, some of that has to be
Like
billing
to see.
process too.
Yeah.
But I will say this, these are supposed to be more efficient, use less water, waste less water in the streets and running down into the gutters and, in effect, more effectively get more water on the place you want to put it rather than anywhere and everywhere.
Sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think that efficiency, I'm not gonna say it's gonna pay for itself, but it's a more pleasant environment rather than getting sprayed with water or your car getting sprayed with water as you're driving down the street. But I think it's something that maybe the HOA can think about. Otherwise, you're talking about a significant improvement in increase.
Brian, haven't they been talking, and I missed a meeting or two, but there's been some discussion by several board members on the board supervisors that it's gonna be a major cost, because they need to do the whole thing probably throughout the whole gateway of redoing a lot of the irrigation piping and pumps and whatever.
It's about a $1.5 to $2 million
Yeah.
estimate.
Yeah, but you're doing a lot more than just.
Yeah, they're doing the whole thing, but
But-
the board of supervisors realizes that the system is old and stuff, and it gets a lot of use. It just really goes. So, yeah.
Well, I'm looking for suggestions here. What do you guys think we want to do?
Let's not all speak at once.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we don't want to over talk each other,
There's no easy answer. There really isn't. We're probably gonna come in way under budget on this year.
Yeah.
Which would mean we'll get some surplus to carry over to next year.
But look at
I'm thinking-
2020,
What's that?
look at 2020.
You thinking going up that much on it, huh?
What number did you say? I didn't hear
I
you.
said, look back at 2020. actually.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about, sticking with 13 or maybe jumping it to 15.
I would go with 15, because it seems every time we get a break somewhere, boy, they're out there digging down 3-4 foot to fix the pipes and stuff. I don't know if that's our cost or if that's cost that goes towards the
All
gate,
depends on the size of it.
size of the pipe.
Yeah, because whose responsibility is
Yeah.
it?
Certain size and above, Gateway owns it.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't, wasn't
I
sure.
think those 4-inch pipes that are deep, they're yours, correct?
Yep.
Why do I know that?
Could make
Yeah.
a noise.
Yeah,
Um,
I would stay at
so you
15.
want to go to 15 there then?
Yeah.
Okay. That's another plus 2. Plant replacement program. And I guess some of that maybe is sod too. I don't know. It really,
I think that's actual program.
is it? Did we replace that much?
We have a lot of old ones dying.
Yeah, I know. And they're jumping it to 22. I don't know. Not sure.
Plan.
on
You
that.
could bring it back, I'm just making a suggestion.
20?
You could bring,
20.
18, because you're looking at the actual for this year of 17,320. I think we've already done a lot of plant replacement.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be a huge,
Yeah.
new plant plants that we use.
The thing is are they holding off right now knowing that we're going to be going into rainy season? And that's why they've been holding off, and that's why our actual is lower than it is, because, you know, they're not going to plant things in the winter, but I mean, come next month, we're in rainy season. And that actual could get increased to 22.
I can't answer that question. I don't know.
I think 18 sounds.
It just seems like every year we it's the same conversation when Elle was in there talking to us. We're holding off right now because it's not rainy season, and as soon as rainy season starts, it seems like they start planting.
Yeah, it's one of those things we budget 12 times, 12 months and spread it out evenly. But in reality, it's a certain time of the year. I agree with that. But
I think, if I recall driving up and down Pebble Brook, we really don't have that much problem right now. Of course, the problem could happen overnight. If the irrigation goes out, we got some plants right down by us there that if you don't get water on them within
They
a
start
day, boy,
wilting in a hurry, yeah.
they're looking ugly.
Yeah.
So,
I still thinking let's go with the 18. I'm going to agree with Margaret on that. Everybody all right with that? Tom?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I put in 180.
That'll blow the budget.
Raise that off.
Miscellaneous maintenance under landscaping services.
Thought we covered everything.
That's one of those
Odd, but
ones. We budgeted 85. The previous year was 82. Don't know why. That was the year of the hurricane or repairs from the hurricane. Still recovering. And projected 49.58. And they're budgeting nothing. Now, does that mean that some of the money above came out of there?
because we've covered irrigation, sod, trees, and shrubberies. What else is there?
I don't know. What do you think miscellaneous maintenance would be?
All I can say is this, there's things that come up that you're not foreseeing.
Yeah.
And I can tell you the day to day out here, I'm dealing with it every day. That, you know what, I would put something into there just to cover it in case anything pops up, because sure enough, it will.
5,000.
I was thinking 5 too. Because it's the fact that they're projected, that they got a dash there for 0. I'm thinking that some of that might have gone into another one of these categories, but let's go with 5. Margaret, do you have a running total on the landscaping services? I'm sure that is.
Okay.
215?
260. Ouch.
But
All right, street lighting services. That's a fixed thing. It's really whatever we budget, because the fact is that that's contractual. It's so much per light, and it is what it is. I would probably go with 34.5, 30, maybe 35 if you want.
What are we doing?
even where it's at, we jumped up too much before in the
In the street lighting?
No, in the landscaping stuff. You gotta find somewhere, kind of make sure we don't go up if we don't have to. I don't think we need to go up for the
But if the,
street lighting.
if the actual is 34, then
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
would
that's real. That number ain't changing.
We can go and school a few bulbs for a few months. Keep that number where we
They're
want it.
projecting 34.
Yeah, all right.
Is this something that we should get back together? I don't think Eric's, working that division anywhere, but should we look into maybe doing a swap out for LED?
Well, I don't know if that saves us money or not. The reason I was suggesting it was just getting more light along Pebble.
Well, that's the thing, more light. I think the cost will probably be the same because they're not going to lose money, but they might save money because they're using less electricity.
Well, there's a cost of installation there, and they got to amortize that. But I think that I did give that information and the brochure from Eric Culling to Chad, and I said, go for it. If this is something you want to do, I suggest considering it. Whether he does it, I don't know if he's talked to you about it or anything.
I haven't heard too much from him.
Okay.
No, he won't talk. He won't talk to me about it.
On this one, it's the projection for this year is 34,650, and you put 34 in there. expenses
That's
for
right.
next year.
Yeah,
We
I,
go
You need
35.
to, you need to
35?
well, that's why I said 35, but you know, it shouldn't change. It
or
sh-
34, well, it has every.
It's 150 more.
I think that's how the billing falls.
34, 60.
You know, they might allocate it in the middle of the week or something like that for 1 year or 1 month or something. And,
FPL says all the rates are going down, so.
yeah, but this doesn't affect the per,
I'd say 35 on this, because you don't, you've got doing yourself a favor if you under budget.
all right. Everybody all right, 35?
Yep.
Plus 1. Roadway security services, I'm sorry. Road, sidewalk, maintenance and repairs, and this is a sore subject for me. And this is something I need to get an answer. I mean, speaking for this committee, I'll say it for myself, is that we're paying for a lot of damage to gates and a lot of damage at the Gatehouse. And some of this, I'm thinking we're getting money, we're getting reimbursed. And we need to know where that money's going.
I know there's one they're working on right now.
I know
Gate.
they released a couple previously that were reimbursed. And one of them was Terry's next door neighbor. And I doubt very much we ever saw that money in the overflow fund.
So all of those bills get paid from the old one? I think it's
That's
paid
what's
from-
happening these days, yeah. It's getting paid out of the 04. They're sending the bills. I can't tell you how many Cypress access bills we had in the first quarter.
So if I,
We've had.
right now, today, I just approved 2 new IQs and 1 Cypress. If I'm approving them in the Castle Click program, that means the HOA is paying. You're not sending the bills here.
I looked, I'm not sure that's true. I'm seeing bills hitting here. And I'm wondering, look at the payout year to date there. And that's what it's for. I'm hoping we're not double paying, but I think that Shannon and I think Patty were sending him through to here.
But then they wouldn't go into Castle Click for me to approve.
Maybe Castle, we're spending an awful lot of money from 04 fund to repair those gates. And I talked to you last time, if we're paying $12,000 a year on repairs, we need to get new gates. I mean, why keep spending money over?
We just bought those gates like 4 years ago,
Well, yeah, that's true. But again, we're spending an awful lot of money.
I believe.
If you're paying and you're getting the money back and
5 years.
for 'em, we don't have an accurate figure of how much it's costing to keep those gates running.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because all of a sudden, they all ship all their bills now to Laura, and she pays them, and they come up 18,000, and we've only got 12,000 budgeted. Then we're the one, the 04 fund's the ones that gets the shaft.
Even worse, what was happening there, we weren't even aware that this was occurring, that the bills were being sent in. And then Laura said, finally, I found out what's going on, because she asked me, where's the money coming from? Because the budget in that particular category was out.
Yeah.
We had to move money around.
Bills that were being sent to Laura were being sent directly from, Shannon was sending them directly to the city.
I believe that's what was
and they
going
weren't
on.
being paid by the HOA.
That
You know that?
is,
I
well, look at this.
think we need to find out budget-wise how much Gateway is paid. And then we need to find out how much the HOA through Castle has paid, to find out if there is any crossover. And if there is, then perhaps the HOA needs to reimburse the 04 fund.
I believe, now we've got this Gateway Utilities thing, and that was, I don't even want to go there, ADT, it was half of that. But this maintenance figure, that's over, Gatehouse repairs and maintenance, but I believe for road sidewalk maintenance repairs, they're projecting 14,502, And I just don't know where else that would be coming from. Unless that was some,
You had a sinkhole over there once.
that's right.
I know I fixed that.
Yeah, that was what?
With Bonus.
Ivory Stone or something like that?
Need a breakdown of what that 14,502 consists of.
It was on
We lost you there.
Jim's.
You might be in a bad place there, JT, because we're only getting a couple of words when you say a sentence.
And
No.
yeah, I think the gate stuff is the very last line. I don't think any of this road sidewalk stuff
think-
has to do with the gate. The gate was down here, gatehouse repairs and maintenance. Wouldn't that be that's where that stuff?
Well, I think that got over. And,
Well, yeah, it's still over.
yeah. And she might have started pulling money out of somewhere else, but road sidewalk maintenance repairs. I got to ask the question, where do we stand on Stone Tower on that one trip and fall that you guys did go out and take a look at?
All I know is this, it's in the attorney's hands. Because I gave information to,
Tony,
and the workers' comp people called, and
workers' comp?
that represents us. It's in Tony's hands. Let's just,
Okay.
I haven't heard back. I can ask him.
It is a little mystifying how the fall occurred. I think, sure you would agree, how it's our fault. I don't know what to say about this one. I'm looking for suggestions, discussion, something to put a number down here.
But we can still request a breakdown.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's hard to come up with some answers when all you see is the one big number with no documentation underneath it. We're kind of running blind here on some of these topics. I think the only one that can really answer it quickly would be Laura. 'Cause
Laura,
she has
who's not here.
access to that computer stuff.
I can tell you from sidewalk standpoint.
Yeah.
If your oak trees, if that's more than a half inch lifted up, you're out of ADA compliant. So it's up to you guys, because I know there's 2 streets over there that I noticed, especially on Bluestone. You got a couple sections, you're out of ADA compliant. That's more than a half inch.
and this is these houses.
Yes, sir.
Are we sending them?
Only the HOA.
Hey, excuse me, Joe, I think you might have broke up. Did you ask if those are homeowners' houses or is that on HOA property or CDD property?
These are on homeowners' property and they're damaging the sidewalks in front of their houses.
Okay. And this goes back to how our docs read what Margaret made a comment of who maintains it. You know, how everyone has their own different opinion. The homeowners need to, clean it, keep it clean of unsightly stains, oils and debris. The maintenance part does go back to Gateway Services. So Chris, you need to get on, we need to get on Castle, get letters to these homeowners. Because if their trees is causing damage and the trees are rising these sidewalks and creating a lip, then the CDD needs to get involved too in the homeowners, because then these trees need to be cut down, because if their tree is causing the damage, why is it going to be held to the 004 account or liability to the HOA or the CDD when it's the homeowner's trees?
And you need to notify the homeowner. Yeah,
Like ASAP.
Yeah.
But that whole maintenance thing, that's how that falls in. We got to keep it clean. Gateway Services maintains it, because they have gone out. I'm not sure if we know the exact date when they went around the community and grinded down a bunch of sidewalks, but they did that recently, and it probably has been maybe a year and a half.
Was that in the last year you were grinding down sidewalks? out there?
That's prior to me getting here.
Okay.
I haven't done any grinding.
I would say probably a year and a half.
All right, well, this,
Shannon is the one that had that done.
so you think that was HOA money that did that then?
I think Shannon contracted it. I don't know where the bill was paid out. I just remember Shannon. Because there were some few of them that she asked me to go take a look at and find out if they did meet the criteria, and the answer was yes. But I believe that was contracted by Shannon. Now, how the bill was paid, I cannot answer.
Well, they did the whole like clubhouse area, all those sidewalks. I remember her
Yeah.
doing that, but I don't remember them going down the streets.
Yeah.
They did.
Because I spray painted some.
Yeah, they went around the entire neighborhood and marked anything that had a lip that could cause ADA non-compliance.
But why would we do that if it's the homeowner's responsibility?
Because it's not the homeowner's responsibility to keep the sidewalks, to maintain the sidewalks. Their responsibility is to clean the debris, unsightly stains. But to maintain it is still the CDD. That's one of the reasons why they bought the equipment so they can do their own repairs, because it was costing too much money to have a company come out and do it themselves.
But the
Is
problem
that correct?
is if in fact the tree on their property is causing the damage, it is their responsibility. And they
Well,
have,
no, and I agree with you on that 110%.
that's what
And
we
that's
have.
probably one of the reasons why we need to get rid of some of these oak trees if they are raising the sidewalk.
Mhm. Yeah, mine's, I don't have a sidewalk, but mine's gonna be coming down soon. There's some more
So do
reason.
we have to hire someone to go through the neighborhood? so they
We
can
don't
mark?
have to, I think that maybe clients, if the people do walk the sidewalks, maybe identify where there are sidewalk issues that are due to a tree. Do you guys ever actually go and look at the sidewalks, or do you wait for a complaint?
It all depends. If I'm in the neighborhood and I walk sidewalks, I make notes of certain addresses. I haven't walked all of them, I can tell you that, but most time if I tell people you see something, go to customer care, send it in, then that prompts me to go out and look at it. Yeah, if you find a couple of them, like say if you find that, just go to customer care and say, hey, here's an address.
What's the measurement that you're looking for?
Anything over a half inch.
So I think I'm just gonna make this suggestion also, is that since we're gonna try and find out what the utility fee of 60,000 is, I highlighted that on this spreadsheet.
Yep.
I highlighted 14.5 because we really need to know what that is also.
Yep.
Is that actual repairs, or is that an assumption that we're gonna pay bills, or have to pay bills, or whose bills were they?
On some of these items, we need a breakdown.
She can go in and break it down, or
Yeah.
Mark will, and I'll find out.
Because this is something like for 2 or 3 years in a row, I asked about the electricity or utilities for the Gatehouse, and I never really got a good answer. And then it turns out.
I think Laura has a better handle on it
Than anybody before.
than people before that, because she's right on top of that stuff.
That brings back the $4,000. You just want to leave that and move on? Because we've got too many questions.
Let me ask something. We can go through the sheet, finish this sheet, get a rough idea, where we need to be, not consider the final document. And maybe how do you guys feel about a second meeting this month?
I think we need it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Don't have a choice.
What about just a workshop? Well, then finish up with the meeting so we can work on it, ask some questions and be a little more informal.
Yeah, this will be a workshop because we've handled the monthly issues today that had to be handled. What we need to know is when will this room be available again this month?
I can check with Georgia.
Yeah, maybe give us at least a couple of weeks anyway to get some of these questions
You
answered.
want a Wednesday?
Wednesday's probably preferable, yeah.
Okay.
So when you finish going through the
Yeah.
line items, so
Yeah.
if there's anything else, we know exactly.
Yeah, we get the question.
So the only
What are we
comment I was
putting
gonna
in here
make,
now?
if we're still doing the gatehouse utilities, instead of the 4.5, because the actual is 2.7.
We
Can
thought,
we
well,
change
we
it to
didn't
3?
resolve the roadways services at 14.5.
I know under the gatehouse utilities, I just wanted to ask.
Okay.
We're not down there yet.
We're not down there
Go
yet.
back up, go
Yeah.
back up, sorry.
Roadway services. Roadway sidewalk, do you want to leave it at 4, make it 5, or just put a question mark by it and see what that was?
Let's put a question mark by it.
All right. Capital outlay,
What is that?
good question.
Question mark.
We budgeted 5,
Projected at 5.
we got 5.
Nothing's happened. Why just leave it there until we find out what it is?
Yeah, possibly that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something maybe that went under maintenance and repairs could have been capital outlay. I don't know, could have been come out of there. Gatehouse utilities, let's go down.
What do we put in there? Question mark?
Yeah, question mark. We're not putting a number. We really don't know what that is. Because some of these numbers are so widely divergent. You know, historically in the past, they were usually relatively close. We got some crazy numbers here. Gatehouse utilities, I don't know where they're coming up with 4,500 from. I don't see why it has to change. We budgeted 18, it was 1476. I would suggest probably about 1,500. How's that sound?
I was going with 3 because the actual's 20.
No, that actual includes ADT.
Oh,
That
wow.
actual from 2020
Really?
included ADT.
Then what was the ADT amount?
About $150 a month, about $1,800 or something like that. No, yeah, it was. I think it was. But in any case, we budgeted 18 for 2021. It's projected to be 1476.
Said 1476 include any ADT?
No, we took it out.
And now there's a more efficient air conditioning in there.
Yeah,
So
Go back to
1,500?
15?
I think I'd be comfortable with 1,500.
Yeah.
You got that right, Margaret?
I do.
Okey-doke. Security contractual services. I have to say, I do not understand. We budgeted 170. And actually, that 170 was at a number higher than what we were told they were going to be. I expected to be a surplus in this column. In other words, when we signed the contract with Securitas, it was going to be less than that $170,000. I think the number was
Correct.
160. Where are we getting
75.
175 from?
Overtime,
We don't know how they're projecting it out.
are they figuring overtime?
And the budget.
The only extra hours we ever approve are hit the HOA because it's an extra rover for Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh, and an extra person at the game. But that's only what, 6 hours, maybe 6 or 7 hours once a year. That wouldn't jump it up a couple thousand.
Yeah, Halloween and maybe Christmas time, I don't know, Thanksgiving time, it might throw in a little bit extra people, but
Well, and then if you look at the, what was budgeted for 2022 is less than what's projected for 2021.
which makes no sense.
So I think I'd leave that alone and question the projection.
Leave the 152 alone? Well, we know it isn't gonna be that low.
I would at least bump it up to 160
Yeah.
or 165. We know that number's in the low 160 someplace.
Yeah. I didn't bring it with me, but I know, now, there was no new contract and no changes made, were there? I don't know where that's coming from.
Is there going to be a new contract sometime later this year?
No, we'll only be the end of the first year, September 1st. We've got 2 more years. Unless they get thrown out behind.
So if the 157 is actual, then that's
165?
Yeah. 165, okay? Gatehouse repairs and maintenance.
And is this part of what you were questioning about who's paying what?
Yeah.
So do we have a question mark here too?
And that could be more than just the arms, right? That could be anything with the building.
Yeah, that could be repairs, like every time they call Cypress out because something ain't working. And I swear to God, I think it's happening too much. Somebody's screwing up inside there, or
And
I
the
don't
air,
want to use the word sabotage, but
And the air conditioner, that would be under maintenance. And I think right now, we're under a maintenance agreement with the vendor.
We are with the vendor right now.
And we need to, I think we need to renew that. That's gonna keep that. They had nothing before, that thing, piece of crap they ended up with. And, but they've got a good one now, and it's gonna cost roughly for 2 years, maybe 220, 230. And we need to budget for that, so we
Yeah.
get something going on that after this.
Well, I know that the big parts have a 10-year warranty. That's why we picked them.
Now, but the maintenance has them coming out and checking everything,
Yeah,
and
I
that's,
know.
that's just as important.
And what's a maintenance contract with them cost?
Yeah, yeah, we need to have that besides.
It's
after we get-
probably a 250 or something.
Yeah, at most, yeah.
No.
And they check it twice a year.
Yeah, because a lot of times if they don't come out and do that twice a year checking, it voids the warranty.
Say what?
I was told by my air conditioning service, matter of fact, the same ones that put the new AC in here.
Yeah.
If you don't get your PMs done, you go to put a claim in because
Yeah.
it's under warranty. The first thing they're gonna say to the company is, let me see the PM history.
Yeah.
And they said, well, there hasn't been PM since they was put in. Well, guess what? We ain't paying,
Yeah.
we ain't not honoring the warranty.
That's right.
No, I agree
Yeah, that
with
makes
that,
sense. Well,
but that would be, I think I paid $250 for a 2-year
You
contract.
know why she put 4 in here for
But we
the year?
actually
I-
agreed to their amount that they offered for maintenance.
What?
They, when we had the total bill for the job.
I don't know what,
That's lower than any number I see in that
yeah,
line.
I agree. I don't know where that's coming from either. And I'm not sure what's included in that 7544 projected. Why is it,
Well, I thought we
so
signed
much
up for
higher?
maintenance. We just need to find out what the maintenance was. Pretty sure.
What, for the air conditioner?
Mhm.
They put a new one in.
Right, but we would have signed up for a maintenance agreement automatically, right?
it's got it
Well,
already,
one
comes
year.
with it the first year.
Yeah, it come with the
Oh, so it's
contract.
time now to
Yeah,
review.
also includes a 1-year maintenance. agreement.
Yeah, we got almost a year.
And I
Okay.
think,
But we need to budget.
I've heard of some damage inside the gatehouse. A busted toilet seat and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And we need to be going back to that security company because the only people in there are the
That's
security
security
people. And I went in there one day and over the sink, they have 4 lights. 3 were gone. One was busted, and just the filament was sticking out light. And they had nothing, no one in there had any bulbs or anything. And so we took care of that. But again, that comes down to that supervisor in there. And if they're not gonna be taking care of it, why should we be putting out money left and right because they're not taking care of the problem?
I agree, that should come out of the bill.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
are we even repairs and maintenance at 4?
I think 4 is a joke though, looking at this from what's happening. And also, we haven't discussed if we're looking at putting in new equipment there. The arms, new gates
Yeah.
and all that sort of thing.
Got to figure out what the.
Let's put it this way, as far as new equipment goes, I think that we probably could tap into the, what's that line item? That shows up in the balance sheet. Capital project reserves. That's something we really haven't tapped into too often. Possibly we could do something with that if such a project needs to be done.
So
You see the line item? Well, you may not know, you guys
I
may
don't
not.
have
Okay, you don't have it. Yeah, it's December 31st, 2020, end of the last year. There was $109,000 in that capital project reserves. We may have tapped into that to do some other work since, I'm not sure.
I thought that's where the money from the repair of
I think that came from rollover
the
service.
jogging trail.
Yeah, we have that other, some too, though. That is, it's a rollover unassigned. Now, the number here is irrelevant because it's not the end of the year. You gotta look at the end of the fiscal year.
So last year's budget was $417,800. So far, with the changes that have been made, it's 430.
Is that all?
Just to let you know. Well, yeah.
What was it before?
Well, it's on your spreadsheet. Fiscal year 2021 was 417,800.
You can email that to us.
I'll email it to you.
Then we'll never get it.
Well, the problem is, he's got a point there. I'm not supposed to send them emails. Send it to Georgia and let her, you know, and let her disperse it.
How about if I send it to you and you send it to Georgia, because I don't have her.
Okay.
I don't have everybody's email yet. You know, I've been-
Send it to me, I'll send it to her, I'll forward it in request.
So what are we putting under Gatehouse repairs?
We'll make it 5?
Yes.
All right, 5 is what we did last year,
I still have questions.
what we budgeted.
Okay. Now,
And what was that number for this year, you said?
431 now.
31. I don't have that much.
Well, I'll read down it, what I have in my own notes.
We haven't finished yet. We've got one more down there.
Well, on the other side, but
I'll get that revenue reserve.
yeah, 10 grand. I would suggest that we just leave that alone. That tends to, that's what becomes the, what do they
All
call
right,
it?
I've got 433, 465, so.
Capital project reserves, that 10,000 winds up in there. What was that total you, bottom line you had, Margaret, again?
431.
After that last 1,000 we just picked up to?
And going back to the top, I've got 1,000 and 1,000 for 2,000. I got 35,000, 140,000, 3,000, 15,000, 18,000, 5,000 for 216.
Right.
Then the next one is 35,000 for electricity. And then I've got 4,000 and 5,000 for roadway. Then I've got 1,500, 152, 5, and 5,000 for public safety.
No, we said 165.
We said 165.
Okay, there's the.
No, I don't know. I had an error in mine up there.
What did that change it to?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's gonna get up.
That changes it to 443.5.
That sounds about what I figured. Okay.
So that was 1,500, 165, and 5, and then the 10,000.
What do you have under roadway services?
That roadway services is
9,000. But we're going to ask about
4
that.
and 5?
Yeah, nothing was gonna change there until we got of what 14.5.
And if you flip the page over on the other side, I think you all have the other side, right?
And your bottom line again, please?
443.5.
Okay.
The 10,000, just leave that in there.
Yeah.
Okay, the revenue reserve, that's money we kick in to cover the unexpected. And it does accumulate a little bit. And I suspect we're gonna have still a little bit of rollover reserve or surplus. So we need some explanations, a couple of questions asked, and I guess we're counting on you, and I'll also communicate with Lori when she gets back.
I'll send her an email.
Okay.
So we having a workshop to finish this up?
Yeah. What's a good day? 2 weeks from now, something like that? Today's the 5th, that'd be the 19th, or want to go to the 26th?
I won't be here.
Could you do it Tuesday instead of a Wednesday?
Could we do it a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday? The availability is the bigger issue here.
I'll ask her to find out and shoot you an email, let you know.
Okay.
You're looking 2 weeks out?
Except when I asked for this. 2 to 8, 1 to 8.
Does anybody else have a problem with Tuesday?
It depends on which Tuesday, but
Yeah.
18th.
My schedule changes daily, so it's just whenever I'm always available. It just depends if my wife's off, so I can pick up the kids.
What about you,
We
Tom?
can try the 18th.
Tuesday, the 18th?
Yeah.
I have nothing on my calendar.
What time?
Probably 3.
Okay, I've got a board meeting at 1 o'clock,
Oh, yeah. No,
but that'll probably be over by 1:15.
no, I'm assuming 3.
Stop rubbing it in, will you?
You got that?
Yeah, Tuesday, 18th at 3 o'clock, if it's available.
if it's available. If not, then we'll have to come up with something else. Hopefully we'll have the other questions answered.
Can Laura be here?
3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, did you say?
Three.
Right.
3, I'm sorry.
Just in case.
Would you ask, can Laura be here?
Yeah.
Well, I think if she's working, she'll be in the office. We can ask her to drop on down, I suppose.
Yeah.
Brian, what's the drop dead date on getting the budget approved by the board to send to the county? I know that's in June. Sometime.
We haven't finalized ours yet, so it's probably, I'll have to double check. I imagine it's
I
middle of
think it
June.
has to be done by June 15th.
I think it's like, I think you're about correct.
Yeah, oh, actually, I thought one of the goals was to get ours in so you can finalize yours. I got, us in Pebble.
Because I know tomorrow night Kenny's
Well,
presenting his, and I got part of mine to look at them, review it, so yeah. I'll double check, but I think you're right, though. I think it is the 15th.
So we got 3 or 4 questions here we don't understand. And how did this, the security contract, how did that wind up being so high? Because that's well above what was projected.
Are you finished, Joe?
I'm not, yeah. We can wrap it up.
He's got a birthday party.
I know.
I'm a half hour late.
Uh-oh.